Old school is an informal expression used to describe ideas, styles, habits, or attitudes that originate from an earlier period and continue to influence the present. It often suggests tradition, reliability, and respect for established ways of doing things. Depending on tone and context, it can carry either a positive or negative meaning. Some people use it to praise timeless values, while others use it to point out resistance to change. The phrase originally referred quite literally to something belonging to a former school of thought or an earlier generation. Over time, it expanded beyond academic settings to describe broader cultural elements. In music, old school hip-hop refers to the early foundational era of the genre. In fashion, it may describe vintage clothing or classic designs that remain stylish, despite changing trends. In sports or business, it can refer to traditional methods that emphasize discipline and fundamentals. People described as old school are often associated with strong principles and consistency. They may value punctuality, personal responsibility, and face-to-face communication. Instead of relying heavily on digital tools, they might prefer handwritten notes, printed books, or in-person meetings. In relationships, an old school approach can involve courtesy, formal dating customs, and clear commitments. These qualities often feel dependable in a fast-moving and technology-driven society. However, the term can also imply inflexibility. Someone who refuses to adapt to new technologies or social developments may be labeled old school in a critical way. For example, a manager who insists on outdated procedures despite more efficient options might be seen as unwilling to evolve. In this sense, old school can suggest stubbornness or an inability to adjust to modern realities. Interestingly, many cultural trends operate in cycles. Items and practices once considered outdated frequently return to popularity. Vinyl records, classic sneakers, and retro film cameras have all regained attention. When this happens, old school becomes a symbol of authenticity and originality. It reflects appreciation for roots and the foundation upon which newer innovations are built. The meaning of the phrase also depends heavily on tone. Spoken warmly, it can express admiration for integrity and time-tested wisdom. Spoken sarcastically, it may highlight outdated thinking. Cultural context further shapes interpretation, as some societies prioritize tradition, while others emphasize constant reinvention and progress. In conclusion, old school represents the balance between honoring tradition and embracing change. It reminds us that while the world continues to evolve, certain values and practices endure because they provide stability and identity. Whether used as praise or critique, the phrase invites reflection on what should be preserved from the past and what must adapt for the future.